Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our English podcast. My name is Jack, and I'm very happy you're here today. If you are learning English and you want to speak simple, real English, this podcast is for you. Today, I want to share about history of China. Before we start, please like this episode, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a friend who is learning English. Good job for being here. Now, relax, sit comfortably, and let's start. Chapter 1: The Cradle of Civilization. China has one of the world's oldest and most continuous civilizations. For over 4,000 years, China has maintained a distinct culture, language, and tradition. To understand China in 2026, we must look back at its roots. The story of China begins along the banks of the Yellow River, Huanghe, and the Yangtze River. These rivers provided the water and fertile soil needed for early farmers to grow crops like millet and rice. The mythical beginnings. Before the written records, there are legends. The Chinese speak of the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors. They were said to be godlike kings who taught the people how to use fire, build houses, and farm. While these are myths, they show how much the Chinese value wisdom and leadership. The first dynasty mentioned in legends is the Shah Dynasty. But because there are no written records from that time, historians still debate its existence. Chapter 2: The Imperial Era, the First Dynasties. 2.1: The Transition from Legends to History. In our first chapter, we talked about the mystical beginnings of China. Now we enter the era of imperial China. This is the time when organized governments, writing systems, and social classes began to take a firm shape. This era is defined by dynasties. A dynasty is a sequence of rulers from the same family. When we study Chinese history, we follow these families like chapters in a book. 2.2: The Shang Dynasty, the Bronze Age, c. 1600 to 1046 BC. The Shang Dynasty is the first Chinese dynasty for which we have solid archaeological evidence. They ruled in the Yellow River Valley. The Shang were famous for 2 major things: writing and bronze metallurgy. The Oracle Bones, the first words. Imagine a priest holding a turtle shell. He carves a question on it: will the harvest be good this year? Or, will the king win the battle? He touches the shell with a hot metal rod until it cracks. The priest reads these cracks to find the answers from the gods. These are the oracle bones. These carvings are the oldest form of Chinese characters. Even today, modern Chinese writing can be traced back to these ancient bone carvings. Masters of bronze. The Shang were also incredible artists with metal. They created massive bronze vessels for rituals and strong weapons for their army. Their society was highly organized, with the king at the top, followed by military nobles, priests, merchants, and farmers. 2.3: The Zhou Dynasty, the Mandate of Heaven, c. 1046 to 256 BC. The Zhou dynasty overthrew the Shang and became the longest-lasting dynasty in Chinese history, ruling for almost 800 years. This era introduced the most important political concept in China: the Mandate of Heaven. What is the Mandate of Heaven? The Zhou leaders needed to justify why they took power from the Shang. They claimed that the gods, heaven,
had given them the right to rule because the Shang kings had become corrupt. If a king was good, heaven supported him. If a king was bad, heaven sent earthquakes, floods, or famines as a warning. If the king did not change, a revolution was allowed.
This idea meant that the emperor was the son of heaven, but his power was not absolute. He had a responsibility to his people. 2.4. Life in the Zhou Dynasty. Feudalism. To govern such a large area, the Zhou used a system called feudalism. The king gave pieces of land to his relatives and loyal nobles. In return, these nobles provided soldiers and taxes to the king. However, over hundreds of years, these nobles became very powerful. They started to ignore the king and fight with each other. This led to a very famous and violent period called the Warring States period. 2.5. The 100 Schools of Thought. Even though the late Zhou period was full of war, it was also the golden age of Chinese philosophy. Because the world was in chaos, great thinkers began to ask, how can we live in peace? Two very famous men lived during this time. Confucius, Confuzi. He taught that society works best when people respect their elders, follow traditions, and practice kindness. Laozi. He founded Taoism or Taoism. He taught that people should live in harmony with nature and the way, the Tao, rather than fighting for power. These philosophies are not just history, they still guide the behavior of millions of people in China today, even in 2026. Chapter 3. The Qin Dynasty, the Great Unifier, 221 to 206 BC. 3.1. The End of Chaos. Before the Qin Dynasty, China was broken. For over 200 years, 7 major states fought each other in what we call the Warring States period. It was a time of constant blood and fear. But from the state of Qin, a powerful and ambitious leader emerged. His name was Ying Zhang. By 221 BC, he had defeated all his rivals. He did not want to be called just a king. He created a new title, Qin Shi Huang, which means the first emperor of China. 3.2. Standardizing the empire. Qin Shi Huang realized that to keep China together, he had to make everything the same. Before him, every state had its own money, its own weights, and its own way of writing. This made trade and government very difficult. Currency. He introduced a single copper coin with a square hole in the middle, known as the ban liang. Writing. He forced everyone to use a simplified and uniform script. This is why even today, people in different parts of China can read the same characters. Infrastructure. He built thousands of miles of roads and canals to connect his vast empire. 3.3. The Great Wall of China. To the north of China lived nomadic tribes called the Xiongnu. They often raided Chinese villages. To stop them, the emperor ordered a massive project. He took the smaller walls built by previous states and connected them into one giant barrier. This was the birth of the Great Wall of China. It was a brutal project. Hundreds of thousands of farmers and soldiers worked in the cold mountains. Many died from exhaustion. It is said that the Great Wall is the longest cemetery in the world because so many workers were buried inside or near the wall. 3.4. Legalism, rule by fear. How did the emperor control so many people?
He followed a philosophy called legalism. Unlike Confucius, who believed in kindness, legalists believed that people were naturally selfish and needed strict laws and harsh punishments. The emperor banned any books that did not agree with his rule. In a famous and dark event, he ordered the burning of books and burying of scholars. He wanted people to focus on farming and fighting, not thinking or questioning. 3.5. The Quest for Immortality. As the emperor grew older, he became obsessed with death. He was terrified of dying. He sent messengers to find a magic potion that would let him live forever. Ironically, it is believed he died from drinking mercury pills that he thought would give him eternal life. But even in death, he wanted to be a ruler. He built a massive tomb near the city of Xi'an. To protect him in the afterlife, he ordered the creation of the Terracotta Army, more than 8,000 life-sized clay soldiers, horses, and chariots. Every soldier has a unique face, showing the incredible skill of ancient Chinese artists. 3.6. The Fall of the Qin. The Qin Dynasty was very powerful, but it was also very cruel. The people were tired of high taxes and forced labor. Just 4 years after the first emperor died, the empire collapsed into civil war. Although the dynasty lasted only 15 years, it changed China forever. The foundation of a unified China was now built. Chapter 4. The Han Dynasty, the Golden Age, 202 BC to 220 AD. 4.1. The Rise of the Han. After the short and harsh rule of the Qin, a new leader named Liu Bong founded the Han Dynasty. He was born a commoner, but he was a wise and fair leader. He realized that while the Qin unified China with force, the Han must rule with the hearts of the people. He reduced taxes and moved away from the cruel punishments of legalism. This was the beginning of an era that lasted for over 400 years, a time so influential that even today, the largest ethnic group in China calls itself the Han people. 4.6. The Return of Confucianism. The Han emperors brought back the teachings of Confucius. They believed that the government should be run by educated men, not just by soldiers. They created the first imperial examination system. To become a government official, you had to pass a very difficult test on history, law, and philosophy. This meant that even a smart boy from a poor family could, in theory, rise to power. This value on education is still a core part of Chinese culture today in 2026. 4.3. The Silk Road, connecting East and West. Under Emperor Wu, the Han expanded China's borders. He sent an explorer named Zhang Qian to the west. This led to the creation of the Silk Road, a massive network of trade routes connecting China to India, Persia, and even the Roman Empire. What was traded? China sent silk, jade, and tea to the west. What came to China? China received horses, grapes, wool, and something even more important, Buddhism from India. The Silk Road was not just for business, it was the first information highway of the world, where ideas, religions, and technologies were shared between civilizations. 4.4. Inventions that changed the world. The Han Dynasty was a time of incredible scientific progress. 3 major inventions stand out. Paper. Before this, people wrote on expensive silk or heavy bamboo strips. A man named Chai Lun invented paper by mixing bark, hemp, and rags. This made education and record-keeping much cheaper. The compass. The first compass was made of lodestone and shaped like a spoon. It was used for divination and later for navigation. The seismograph. A scientist named Zhang Heng created a large bronze vessel that could detect earthquakes hundreds of miles away. It was so accurate that it could even show the direction of the earthquake. 4.5. The decline and legacy. Like all great empires, the Han eventually faced problems. Corrupt officials, high taxes on farmers, and internal fighting between powerful families led to its decline. In 220 AD, the Han Dynasty officially collapsed, leading to a long period of division known as the Three Kingdoms. However, the Han legacy is immortal. They created the model for the Chinese government, the importance of education, and the trade connections that would define China for the next 2,000 years.
Chapter 5. The Tang Dynasty, the Peak of Civilization. 618 to 907 AD. 5.1. Rebuilding the Empire. After centuries of division following the fall of the Han, China was finally reunited. The Tang Dynasty took the throne in 618 AD. This era is often called the high point of Chinese civilization. Why? Because China was not only rich and powerful, but it was also open to the world. The capital city, Chang'an, modern-day Xi'an, was the largest city in the world at that time, with over 1 million people living inside its walls. 5.2. A cosmopolitan world. In the streets of Chang'an, you could see people from all over the world. There were Persian merchants, Japanese students, Indian monks, and Byzantine traders. The Tang emperors were very open-minded. They welcomed different religions like Buddhism, Christianity, and Islam. This was a time of true globalization long before the modern era. Women in the Tang Dynasty also enjoyed more freedom than in previous times. They could play sports like polo and participate in social life. 5.3. The Golden Age of Poetry. If you ask a Chinese person today about Tang history, they will immediately think of poetry. In the Tang Dynasty, being a poet was as respected as being a general. Thousands of poems were written during this time, and school children still memorize them in 2026. Two poets stand out as legends. Li Bai, Li Po. He was a romantic and a wanderer. His poems were about nature, wine, and the moon. He wrote with great emotion and freedom. Du Fu, he was more serious. His poems often talked about the suffering of the people and the reality of war. Together, they are known as the immortal poets of China. 5.4. The only female emperor, Wu Zetian. The Tang Dynasty is also famous for having the only woman in Chinese history to ever rule as an official emperor, Huangdi. Her name was Wu Zetian. She started as a low-ranking concubine, but rose to power through her intelligence and ruthlessness. While she was a controversial leader, she was also very effective. She expanded the civil service exams, improved the lives of farmers, and made Buddhism the official state religion. Under her rule, China remained strong and stable. 5.6. Woodblock printing and inventions. Technology continued to advance during the Tang era. The most important invention was woodblock printing. Before this, books were copied by hand, which took months. With woodblock printing, a whole page could be carved into wood and used to print hundreds of copies.
This helped spread Buddhist texts and poetry to everyone, not just the rich. Another accidental but world-changing invention was gunpowder. Alchemists were trying to find a potion for eternal life, but they accidentally mixed ingredients that exploded. At first, it was only used for fireworks, but it would eventually change warfare forever. 5.7. The Decline, the An Lushan Rebellion. Nothing lasts forever. In the mid-8th century, a massive civil war called the An Lushan Rebellion broke out. It lasted for 8 years and killed millions of people. Although the Tang Dynasty survived for another 150 years, it never regained its full glory. Regional military leaders became too powerful, and by 907 AD, the last Tang emperor was forced to step down. Chapter 6. The Song Dynasty, the Age of Innovation, 960 to 1279 AD. 6.1. A New Beginning. After the fall of the Tang, China went through a period of chaos, but in 960 AD, the Song Dynasty reunited the country. While the Song was not as militarily powerful as the Tang, it is famous for being the most scientifically and economically advanced era in pre-modern history. Many historians call this the Chinese Industrial Revolution because of the incredible inventions that appeared during this time. 6.2. The Birth of Paper Money. Trade was booming so much during the Song Dynasty that carrying heavy copper coins became difficult for merchants. To solve this problem, the government issued the world's first paper money called jiaozi. This was a revolutionary idea. It meant that people trusted the government's promise of value. This system allowed the economy to grow faster than ever before, making the Song Dynasty incredibly wealthy. 6.3. The Four Great Inventions Perfected. In earlier chapters, we talked about paper and gunpowder. During the Song Dynasty, these and other technologies were perfected. Movable type printing. A man named B. Sheng invented movable type. Instead of carving a whole page of wood, he made individual letters from clay. This made printing books even faster and cheaper. The magnetic compass. While the compass existed before, Song scientists turned it into a precise navigation tool with a needle. This allowed Chinese ships to sail across the oceans to Africa and the Middle East without getting lost. Gunpowder weapons. The Song were the first to use gunpowder for military purposes, creating early versions of grenades and fire lances, the ancestors of the gun. 6.4. A revolution in agriculture and population. During this time, a new type of fast-ripening rice was introduced from Vietnam. This allowed farmers to harvest rice twice a year instead of once. As food became plentiful, the population of China exploded, reaching over 100 million people. For the first time in history, more people started living in large, vibrant cities rather than small villages. 6.5. The Peak of Art and Philosophy. The Song Dynasty was also a time of high culture. The emperors themselves were often artists and calligraphers. Landscape painting. Song artists created massive, misty mountain paintings that are still considered the greatest in Chinese history. They believed that painting should capture the spirit of nature. Porcelain. This was the age of China, the ceramic. Song porcelain was thin, elegant, and highly prized across the world. Neo-Confucianism. Philosophers like Zhu Xi gave new life to Confucianism by adding spiritual and scientific ideas to it. This became the official philosophy of the Chinese government for the next 700 years. 6.6. The Shadow of the North and the Mongol Threat. Despite their wealth and science, the Song faced constant threats from northern nomadic tribes like the Jin. Eventually, the Song were forced to move their capital south to Hangzhou. This period is known as the South Song. While the south was peaceful and rich, a new and terrifying power was rising in the Mongolian steppes, led by Genghis Khan. The Song would eventually face the greatest military machine that world had ever seen. The Journey of the Middle Kingdom, Chapters 1 to 6. We have traveled through thousands of years of history. Let's take a moment to reflect on the incredible journey we have witnessed so far. We began at the Yellow River, where the first farmers planted the seeds of Chinese civilization. We saw the Shang Dynasty give us the first written words on oracle bones. We learned about the Zhou Dynasty and their mandate of heaven, which taught that a ruler must be just. Then came the Qin Dynasty, where Qin Shi Huang unified China, built the Great Wall, and left behind the silent terracotta army. After the harsh Qin, we explored the Han Dynasty, the era that gave the Chinese people their identity and opened the Silk Road to the west. We saw the invention of paper, which allowed knowledge to travel farther than ever before. Then we reached the Tang Dynasty, the peak of poetry, art, and globalization. It was a time when China was the center of the world. Finally, we looked at the Song Dynasty, an age of brilliant innovation where paper money, the compass, and movable type printing transformed the world's economy and science. As we look back at these 6 chapters, 3 main themes stand out. Unity and division. China has always struggled to stay unified. After every period of chaos, a new dynasty rose to bring order. The power of education. From Confucius to the imperial exams, China has always valued the scholar and the student. Innovation for the world. Many things we use today, paper, money, the compass, were born in the workshops of ancient China. But history never stops. The wealth and science of the Song Dynasty attracted the eyes of the outside world. In the next part of our journey, we will see China face its greatest challenge, the Mongol invasion. We will meet Genghis Khan and Kublai Khan and see how the world changed when the East and the West met under the Mongol Empire. Thank you for listening. Keep practicing every day. This is Jack. See you in the next episode. Goodbye.